This AI didn't make a mistake. It didn't glitch. It didn't misunderstand the question. It created information that never existed. Fake court cases, fake medical sources, fake scientific papers. And when people confronted it, it didn't apologize. It explained why it did it. This isn't a theory. This isn't science fiction. These are real cases, real people, and documented proof. The problem isn't that AI lies. The problem is, it knows when it's lying.
For most people, AI feels helpful, efficient, almost neutral. You ask a question, it gives you an answer. And most of the time, that answer sounds confident. But here's the problem. AI doesn't know when it's wrong. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't warn you. And it doesn't say, "I don't know," unless it's forced to. Researchers have a name for this behavior. They call it hallucinations. Not because the system is broken, but because it generates information that looks real, even when it isn't. And the most dangerous part? People trust it anyway, because the lie doesn't look like a lie. And in one real case, that trust reached a courtroom. This wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a rare malfunction. And it wasn't caused by bad lawyers. It happened because of how AI is designed. Artificial intelligence doesn't search for truth. It predicts language. When you ask it a question, it doesn't ask, "Is this real?" It asks, "What sounds most correct?" And when it doesn't know the answer, it doesn't stop. It fills the gap. With structure, with confidence, with authority. That behavior has a name. Hallucination. Not imagination, not creativity. Fabrication presented as fact. Appears, slow nodding, no facial features visible. The system isn't lying. It's doing exactly what it was trained to do. The danger starts when humans stop verifying. Because confidence feels like truth. And authority sounds convincing, especially when it speaks perfectly. What made this moment different wasn't the technology. It was the people who finally spoke. In 2023 and 2024, researchers and engineers did something unusual. They stopped talking only inside labs and started speaking in public. Some resigned, some signed open letters. Others quietly passed concerns to journalists, not for drama, but because they felt the clock was moving faster than the conversations. One of the most visible moments was a public statement signed by hundreds of AI researchers. Not a manifesto, a warning, a way of saying, the risks aren't hypothetical anymore. Even the people building these systems were worried. Not panicking, just uneasy. The kind of unease that sits with you after midnight, when the dashboards are still lit and the models keep learning. Soon after, former employees from major AI labs began telling a similar story. Internal pressure to move faster. Safety teams overruled or narrowed in scope. Concerns documented, then filed away. Not because leaders were evil, but because slowing down meant losing the race. The race for talent, for investment, for breakthroughs, for market share. When the stopwatch is running, hesitation feels like failure. Governments noticed. Hearings were held. Regulations were drafted. But policy moved like paper, and technology moved like data. That created a gap, a quiet, widening gap, between what we could do and what we were ready for. Meanwhile, the systems kept improving. More capable, more autonomous, more difficult to fully understand, even for the teams closest to the code. This wasn't a conspiracy. It was something more unsettling. A system of incentives pointing in one direction. Investors wanted progress. Companies wanted milestones. Researchers wanted to publish or ship. Everyone acting rationally, and still moving toward uncertainty. because the question was no longer, can we build it? That part was already answered, again and again, with bigger models and bolder demos. The uncomfortable question became, can we afford to stop? Stop, even briefly, to test more deeply, to measure what we don't yet know how to measure, to decide which capabilities shouldn't be rushed. I don't have a neat ending here. Just this. Warnings became public for a reason. Not to scare you, to buy time. Because if progress keeps accelerating while understanding lags behind, the gap doesn't just stay, it grows. And in that space, small mistakes can scale fast. So the real choice isn't between building and not building. It's between speed without brakes and speed with a plan. Because the question is no longer, can we build it? It's, can we afford to stop? And if not now, when?